assembling a lot of members, which is that we have a lot of companies in Denmark producing equipment
Yes.
for district heating and cooling, giving consultant advices,
Yes.
and also the utilities. So we, as an association, have all these companies as a member, and then
Yeah.
we help them jointly
Yeah.
in advocating the message from district heating, and also we organize visits to, could be Korea,
Yeah.
Russia, China, and elsewhere, where we assemble a group of companies and then we travel to showcase our work.
A worldwide association.
It's an association for only Danish companies,
Yes.
but we travel worldwide.
Oh, yes, I know. Do you think what is the reason Denmark could be one of the famous local cooling and heating system worldwide?
Um, it is because in the 1970s,
Yeah.
when we had the first oil crisis
Yeah.
and the second oil crisis,
Yeah.
at that time Denmark imported almost all of its energy from the Middle East.
Yeah.
So we were basically only producing our heat and electricity and all that on oil.
Yeah.
So when the oil prices peaked during the 70s, we didn't have enough money to import all that oil, and therefore, you know, we had car-free Sundays. People were not allowed to drive because we didn't have enough energy to heat buildings and all that. And then the government made a policy that said all municipalities had to plan what existing heat resources there were.
Yes.
That could be industry,
Yes.
that could be waste incineration facilities,
Yes.
that can be power plants, that could be other sorts of excess heat from production. And then they had to plan what is the demand for heat. And then they made it obligatory for all cities that they must come up with a plan on how to utilize the heat sources available for district heating. So we had to bring down our import of oil. So we also had to look at our local resources, what is available in Denmark as a fuel. And we found some natural gas in the North Sea, and we also have some forestry and some farming. So we had to find out what local fuels could be used for district heating. So why we have so much district heating today is because our government made it mandatory for all municipalities that they had to implement district heating systems if it was socioeconomically responsible. So it's a very top-down approach. So you don't say to people, if you think it's a good idea, great, do it. No, they were required to do something about it.
Thank you. And what is the energy source of local cooling and heating systems? Though fuel or coal or petroleum?
We have a variety. The thing is that district heating is not dependent on fuels.
Yeah.
District heating can use whatever is available,
Yeah.
because district heating is water being transported in pipes underground.
Yeah.
So if a country has a lot of coal, use coal. If a country has a lot of gas, use natural gas. If you have a lot of biomass, use biomass. We don't care. It all works. That's it. In Denmark we have about 30% of our district heating is coming from waste incineration plants. So municipal wastes, this, all that to the waste incineration facilities being burned and transported as surplus heat. and we have about 70% is coming from no, let me put it another way. District heating alone, you have 50%, half of all district heating is renewable.
Yeah.
The other half is fossil fuels. So you have about half, 50% is renewable. Then you have about 25% natural gas,
Yeah.
and then you have around 10-12% coal,
Yeah.
and then you have about 2% oil. And the oil is only used for peak load. So when you have a very cold day, or a power plant has some problems in its operation, then you have some peak load boiler stations. We have one right here. This is a peak load boiler station right here. And then, because oil is very quick to incinerate,
Yeah.
so you use heavy fuel oil for peak load boilers.
Yeah.
So in principle, we could use whatever is available.
Yeah.
And the Danish government has a target that we want to become completely independent on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And around summer this
Yeah.
year, we have a commission investigating, a climate commission investigating when Denmark sustainably and prudently can become independent on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And this commission is not linked to the government.
Yeah.
It's been appointed by the government, but it's independent.
Yeah.
And the estimate is that they will say in 2050,
Yeah.
Denmark will no longer use fossil fuels. But our business, the district heating business, we have made an investigation. It's called the Heat Plan Denmark. I can give you this paper after. And they have suggested to the government that all district heating in Denmark can become fossil free by 2030. If we are allowed to use whatever fuel source we can.
This is your last question. Do you think what is the most important to adapt this system, this local cooling heating system?
In Korea, actually, you are already very well in the area around Seoul.
Yeah.
You have a lot of district heating already, and a lot of it is based on Finnish or Danish technology, and of course Korean technology. I think the most important is that because it requires high investments. So you need big investments. You need a lot of money. And because of the size of the investment, and because of the price you can put on the consumers, it takes a certain number of years to repay the investment. And most likely it's, for the big systems, it's around 10 years. Smaller systems could be 5, 6, 7 years. So for commercial banks, this is very difficult because it has a long horizon. So what you need is a government putting up incentives for people to finance these systems, knowingly that you will get your money repaid. So what you need is either that you can commit the consumers by law. So if you want to put a district heating into a system, you need to be able to have a critical mass connected to the system. So you need a number of consumers in order for the system to make sense. And it should not be up to the consumers to say yes or no. They have to be connected. On the other hand, then you have to guarantee the consumers a price that is no higher than